This is the original podcast edition of The Guild of the Cowry Catchers by Abigail Hilton, now part of the complete Pirates of Wefrevane series. The books are available as audiobooks, ebooks, and paperbacks. This podcast originally aired from 2010 to 2014. Stick around after the story for commentary from me, the author, more than a decade later. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers, a novel of pirates and Panamindorah. Written and narrated by Abigail Hilton. Book 2, Flames. Warning: this novel was intended for people who shop in the grown-up section of the bookstore. It is not intended for children or young teens. If you need to ask whether you will be offended, you probably will. Episode 13.
Hi, this is Christoph Laputka, author and creator of The Leviathan Chronicles, the Parsec-nominated full-production audio drama about two powerful groups of immortals fighting a civil war that spills out into the modern-day world of humanity. Check out our first 25 episodes on iTunes or at www.leviathanchronicles.com. Previously on the Cowry Catchers podcast, Gerard and Silvio meet with Gawain, who is surprisingly friendly. He gives them his book and a map directing them to the place where he is holding the captured Sea Watch sailors. Gawain says he will release the prisoners if Gerard and Silvio read his book and tell him what they think of it. Gerard reads Gawain's book that evening and is deeply troubled. He begins to question his loyalty to the temple. He tries to talk to Arundel about Morcella, but Morcella terrifies him by speaking through Arendel's mouth. Gerard hides in his room until the following evening when Basil calls him down to deal with Silvio. Silvio has drunken himself into a stupor but still cannot sleep. Gerard carries him back to Silvio's bedroom, and Silvio finally tells Gerard that he put fleas-carrying plague into Gawain's winged wolf. The plague will affect every hoofed creature on the island.
Chapter 32. Vicious and Deceitful.
Hunti pirates are perhaps the most feared seafaring predators in the water around Wefrevane. They will steal anything, but they are particularly fond of prisoners, which they sell as slaves all over Wefrevane and the Lawless Lands, depending on where each species is valued. Gawain, a guide to Wefrevane.
Basil found Gerard the next morning, eating breakfast. He sat down beside him, humming.
I knew you could do it.
Do what?
Muttered Gerard into his tea.
He slept like a kitten. All he needed was a good dose of you. Maybe you could arrange some sort of brief nightly session. You know, so he doesn't go into withdrawal again.
Gerard wondered if he could manage to dump his scalding tea into Basil's lap without appearing to do it on purpose.
Lieutenant, are you making a nuisance of yourself?
Came Silvio's voice behind them.
Yes, sir.
Please go find someone else to bother.
Basil hopped up.
Absolutely.
Silvio came over and sat down across from Gerard. He poured himself some tea. After a moment, he said,
Can we forget about the way I behaved last night?
Gerard was more than willing. However, he felt that he'd behaved just as badly.
Silvio, do you remember what I asked you? What you said?
Silvio screwed up his face.
Said and did.
I shouldn't have asked you those things. You weren't yourself, and I took advantage.
I was myself. That was the whole problem. You're not going to like what you see today, Gerard. Just do as I say, and maybe we'll get out of this alive.
Silvio's officers clearly expected to leave early, but Silvio seemed in no hurry. He let the sailors sleep in and spent some time strolling the grounds. Gerard came with him, and Silvio didn't seem to mind, but for once he wasn't in a talkative mood. Around mid-morning, a hunting party returned to the lodge from the jungle. They looked unhappy and went straight to the administration building. Silvio waited for a bit, and then asked some of the Grishnard staff if there was a problem. The gamekeeper looked uncomfortable.
The hunters are saying there's something wrong with the fawns out there. Sirs, might like to wait until later to go hunting.
Oh, I think we're ready now,
said Silvio.
If there's something wrong with them, they'll be easy to catch, eh?
The gamekeeper looked troubled, but Silvio turned and walked away.
I'm not planning on coming back here,
he told Gerard.
So bring anything you value.
The sailors were roused, and within an 8th watch they'd started into the jungle. It was a fine, crisp morning. The trail marked on Gawain's map was one of the major arteries that ran along the outer rim of the island.
Watch for traps,
Silvio warned them.
Be careful of your feet.
They hadn't been walking very long when they encountered the body of a Pegasus, a foal half off the path. It didn't have any visible wounds, and it hadn't been dead for long. A little further on, they found 6 gazelle, all dead. They were lying in black pools of bloody vomit and excrement, and the flies were already walking on their corpses. Gerard also found a Gazumel child among the bodies. His stiff arms were wrapped around the neck of one of the dead creatures, his face buried in its bloody fur. Silvio caught Gerard staring.
Do remember that Mistress may make you and Thess take that Selkie's place if we don't bring her this fawn, or at least proof of his death. Focus, Gerard, and keep up.
Vicious and deceitful,
thought Gerard.
Right.
Silvio had not underestimated the virulence of the plague he'd released on Asia Minor. Gerard figured it must not have required fleas to spread after the initial infection. It had obviously traveled rapidly through the island's hoofed population. As they continued, the bodies became more frequent. Sometimes they found living shelts just sitting beside the path, their fur and clothes sticky with vomit and stinking of blood. They did not run, even when the Hunty shoved them with swords. Arundel tried cutting off one's ear to see if that got a response, and Farrell stepped forward and finished it. Basil looked as uneasy as Gerard had ever seen him.
Sylvie, this is jungle plague.
Gerard was walking just behind them, and he heard Basil's low mutter.
There's a reason they call it fear in the lawless lands. You know, some strains can infect Panons.
Not this one.
Basil stopped walking for a moment.
Oh.
That ship of yours going to show?
I think so.
Good, because I don't think it would be smart of us to go back via the lodge.
Wyverns preserve us. The Mejans will want to eat us for dinner.
Silvio sniffed.
They won't be doing anything for a while, except panicking.
He was right. Gerard suspected that the plague had totally disrupted any network that the fawns used to communicate with each other. By the end of the day, every hoofed creature on the island was clearly dead or extremely ill. They passed whole herds of zebras that had collapsed in the mountain clearings, their bodies arcing in dreadful spasms. They found beautifully colored jungle Pegasus thrashing in the weeds beside the trail. One had fallen into a plant with huge flat leaves larger than a shelt. Each leaf had tiny beaded stalks of pink moisture, like strange fur.
Poison sundew,
explained Basil.
It burns like acid and sticks like glue. Sometimes the fawns cut it up and use it in traps.
The Pegasus was thrashing in the heart of the sundew, adhered to 6 leaves. It was making a pitiful squawking sound. Gerard wanted to ask someone to shoot it, put it out of its misery. Everywhere he looked, he saw death and blood and pain. He remembered the flock of jungle Pegasus who had sung with Thessaline that night before they reached Leklock.
Are any of them dying on this island now?
He caught up with Silvio and Basil again and asked, in a low voice,
Will half of them really survive?
Basil shot him a glance.
Well, no. I mean, they would if they had someone to bring them food and water and keep them bathed and warm, stop them from taking all their clothes off and wandering away in delirium. Trouble with jungle plague is that everyone tends to get sick at once, so there's no one really to do those things.
Gerard looked at him curiously.
Have you had experience with it?
Basil hesitated.
Yeah, I have. Don't want to do it again.
You can't usually catch it twice.
I don't want to find out.
Most of the crew of the Darkwind have had it,
said Silvio to Gerard.
That's part of the reason I brought them, just in case.
Basil gave a little laugh.
There's a story for you, Gerard. I hired Sylvie because someone told me he was good with poison, and I thought my whole crew had been poisoned. They went down that fast. By the time he got there the next day, I had it too. Fever so high I could hardly crawl up on deck.
He grinned at Silvio.
And I still thought you were the cutest thing I'd ever seen.
Silvio shook his head.
You were very ill.
I was delirious. I was probably dying, but I wasn't blind. If you hadn't stuck around, I don't know what would have happened to us. The harbor master quarantined us, which amounted to leaving us alone to die.
Gerard said nothing.
Silvio, you knew what this disease could do, and you gave it to a Schelt who came to you for a peace conference.
Gerard remembered what Silvio had said before they left Lecklock.
I'm planning to walk in there over sand and walk out over bodies.
I didn't think you meant it literally.
He wondered whether Gawain was still alive. It seemed unlikely, since he would have been the first to sicken. Still, he was half Grishnard, and maybe that would help. At last, they came to a point where Gawain's map instructed them to leave the main trail and continue up a side path towards the interior. So far, they hadn't encountered a single trap or obstacle, but Silvio told everyone to be more vigilant from now on. They found no traps, though, all the way down into the little jungle gully, where the path grew so faint that it almost vanished. At last, they came to a ruin of stone that might once have been a mansion or a temple, complete with crumbling outbuildings and a partial wall. The body of a female Gazumel crouched by the entrance. Gerard thought she might be alive, but when he touched her, she was stone cold. Basil gave a long sigh. It was the sand pilot who'd brought them in.
The one who didn't kill us.
Dead and dying fawns were everywhere inside the ruin, sitting or lying, sometimes twisted into agonized postures. Many of them had taken off their clothes in their delirium, and a pool near the main courtyard was thick with Schelts who, for some reason, had crawled in there to die. Gerard spotted a tarnished statue in the center of the complex, a pair of brooding wings shielding a bracket for a torch or candle.
A Firebird monument.
It had been hung with skulls, which Gerard suspected were Grishnard. However, the bones were mostly old.
Not enough new ones to account for 50 Sea-Watch sailors.
They searched the ruin. Gerard didn't think the fawns had actually been living there. It was probably just a meeting place. It would be a good spot to make a stand against hunters. Lots of nooks to hide and shoot from. Gerard half expected to be attacked at any moment. Even if all the fawns were too sick to move, there had been a few Panons in Gawain's group. However, they'd either run away, or they were smart enough not to challenge a large company of Sea-Watch with their own forces in tatters. Silvio attempted to question several of the half-dead fawns, but they were either delirious or very good actors. Those well enough to run away obviously had. The sailors found a passage into the basement level of the ruin, and one of the Hunty gave an excited yip as he entered.
I smell Grishnards,
he called. Silvio picked the lock on the newer-looking metal door, and in the black cell beyond, they found most of the sailors who'd been lost on the Water Sprite. They were thin and weak, but alive.
The fawns stopped coming to feed and water us a while ago,
one said.
We thought they left us to die.
Gerard wanted to be pleased to see them, but he just felt ill.
No traps, no poison. He didn't lie to us.
Silvio seemed dissatisfied. He set the sailors to looking through the bodies for a blue-haired fawn with dew claws. After a while, they found a crumbled outbuilding with a Zed faunus who did not appear to be sick. She was ancient and apparently too arthritic to bathe. Grime clung to her hair, and her clothes looked as though they hadn't been washed since last spring. She seemed more than a little mad, muttering and tittering to herself while they examined her dirty cottage. Unlike the other buildings, this one looked truly lived in.
Don't suppose she needs to hide,
said Basil.
You'd have to be desperate to want to bag this one.
However, Silvio got excited when he started sniffing around the cottage.
Gawain was here recently.
He went to the back door, opened it, sniffed around.
He and his wolf left within the watch.
He thought for a moment.
Basil, please tell Pharrell exactly how to reach the rendezvous point of the ship. Pharrell, I want you to start in that direction with the sailors who are prisoners. They're weak and unarmed, and they need to get out of here. Take 15 of ours with you. Basil, pick the fastest 10 to go with us.
Hunting?
Asked Basil.
Oh, yes.
The groups assembled and split up quickly. Gerard watched them and said nothing. Silvio started into the forest with 10 Hunty, Basil, Arundel, and Gerard. The shadows were growing long.
If we get separated, meet back at that ruin by dawn. This island isn't as deadly right now as usual, but it's still dangerous. Watch out for traps, poison sundew, and the odd panan. The fawn we're chasing is sick. I smell blood, but there'll be nothing wrong with his wolf.
Silvio was leading, occasionally crouching down to catch the scent. No one seemed to notice when Gerard dropped back. He let himself drift to the rear of the group. In the gathering shadows, he stopped walking, waited until the party was out of sight, and then turned back towards the ruin. Chapter 33. Caught.
Unlike slaves native to Wefervain, slaves sold by Hunti are often mentally and physically groomed for their task. Hunti sometimes castrate male slaves to make them more docile, and slaves who have been blinded, made deaf, dumb, or clawless often come from Hunti ships. Gawain, A Guide to Wefervain.
Gerard was thinking about a lot of things, but mostly he was remembering the hold of the water sprite. He crouched down and watched the ruin and the cottage. He listened to the sigh of the wind and thought about the winged monument standing now among the dead. After a while, he saw a half-grown jungle pegasus flitting through the trees. It landed near the cottage. Gerard stood up and allowed his boots to crunch the stones as he approached. The pegasus saw him and fled. It was savvy enough, though, to see that he didn't have a bow. It landed on the roof of one of the buildings and watched. Gerard paced the length of the cottage. He was almost sure now. He went inside. The mad old faunus, Gawain's caregiver, had gone.
Only 10.
The outside had been 15 paces in length. He stopped before the only wall without windows, the one with the fireplace. Gerard wondered whether the cottage was even contemporary with the rest of the ruin, or whether it had been added later. Gerard remembered the old faunus's filthy hair and almost smiled.
Not dirt. Soot.
It was everywhere in the cottage. He knelt and put a hand into the fireplace. It was cold and much deeper than it ought to be. He ducked inside and stood up. He was in another room. The false chimney rose only to his waist, and he climbed out over it. He saw a tiny desk and a chair. Nothing else. No papers. No shelves. Gerard relaxed.
I shouldn't have expected anything. Of course he's already gone. Sylvia will deal with him. Unless...
Gerard walked across the little room.
1, 2.5.
He looked back at the wall and the fireplace, then at the wall in front of him.
I'm missing another 2.5 paces.
Gerard felt his way along the far wall. It looked seamless. Then his hand touched something. Sticky? No, springy. The wall looked exactly the same, yet it gave in one place like silk and bounded and wobbled at the touch.
Silvio thinks it's rendered spider web.
He reached into the silken hollow and found a knob. Still the material did not tear. He turned the knob, and a door inside swung open. He could hear it swing, softly, but he saw only a ripple in the wall in front of him. Gerard put out his hand to the wall that was no more than a veil. He pushed up the veil and ducked beneath. The second secret chamber was tiny. A bed filled over half of it. A fawn was curled on the bed, reading by the light of a tiny candle.
Hello, Gerard.
Gawain did not look surprised to see him, only tired. His skin was blotchy, his eyes were fever bright. Still, he didn't seem delirious.
Where's Silvio?
Following the trail your wolf left. She dragged some of your clothes, I suspect.
Gawain nodded.
Silvio trusts his nose, doesn't he? You trust your eyes.
Can you walk?
I don't know. Maybe.
And Gerard finally heard the fear in his voice.
You're not very dangerous now, are you?
Gawain pulled himself up on his elbows and then gingerly sat on the side of the bed, trying to avoid knocking over the bucket of bloody filth beneath. He was trembling with the effort, and perhaps with fright.
I had poison for such an occasion,
he said, without looking at Gerard.
But the old one took it away. She thought I might hallucinate and kill myself, and now I'm not sure where she's put it, and I'm too weak to use a dagger.
He was almost babbling. Gerard crouched beside him.
Gawain.
The fawn glanced at him. His eyes were huge and dilated.
I don't think you enjoy cruelty. You could say you found me dead.
I want to join you. I want to help.
Gawain blinked.
You're so sure you've lost and you're so sick you can't even process this. I won't come without my wife. I need to go and get her. And then I'll go wherever you like, meet you wherever you like, tell you anything you want to know, just as long as there's protection from wyverns and from the priestess. I'll try to get Silvio to come, but I will even if he won't.
Gawain gave a little laugh. His eyes darted back and forth. He licked his lips.
This would have been a lot easier a few days ago.
I'm sorry.
Gawain crumpled in a spasm.
I underestimated Silvio.
He managed.
You only get to do that once.
No, you overestimated him. You thought he had the faintest trace of honor.
I'm not sure I'll survive.
Continued Gawain.
And if I do, I'm not sure what the resistance will look like afterward.
Gerard nodded.
I understand that.
They may blame you for this. They'll have a hard time trusting any captain and police.
I have good reasons for that. You got some things wrong in your book. Nevertheless, I'm willing to try. You have no idea what I'm running from.
Oh?
Gerard smiled. Even violently ill, badly frightened, and burning with fever, Gawain was still curious.
I'll tell you later. Do you have a way out of here?
Gawain shrugged.
A Pegasus was supposed to come, but I don't know whether there are any well enough. Whether the message even got through.
There's a Pegasus outside. At least there was when I came in.
He was still there. Gerard helped Gawain out of the cabin and onto the back of the nervous Pegasus.
If I survive this, I'll be in contact. I'm sorry I can't give you more.
We took everything you had to give.
Gerard watched the Pegasus flit away between the trees. When he turned around, he jumped. Alcere was standing behind him. His eyes were faintly unfocused. Chapter 34. Wind Chimes.
There are many reasons that fauns or minor penons might find themselves on Major Minor. For most, a pirate ship is the only way off the island alive. The majority will never have that option. Pirates can afford to be picky. Gawain, the non-Grishnards of Wefervain.
Gerard felt like he'd swallowed a ball of ice.
Alcere?
The griffin blinked.
Gerard, I've been looking for you all day. I dodged 2 patrols, but they're not as vigilant as I expected.
Gerard took Alcere's head in his hands and looked into his eyes. They stared back at him, puzzled, warm, honey gold.
My friend. Closer than my brother.
He started to relax.
Arundel has me frightened, jumping at everything.
The ruins were shadowy, the light poor. Gerard didn't even know how he could have seen what he thought he saw.
Did you just do what I thought you did? That fawn and that Pegasus?
What do you mean?
Alcere snorted.
Gerard, It's all right. I mean, he has to be better than Silvio. If you want to leave the temple service, I'm with you.
Gerard nodded, ran a hand over Alcer's downy feathers.
You used to tell me everything,
whispered Alcer.
Now you hardly trust me.
Gerard felt a pang.
I'm sorry. I'm frightened and worried. It will be better when this is over, when we're away. I promise, Alcer, I'll be a better friend.
The griffin nuzzled him.
You worry so much. You always did. Everything will be all right.
He paused.
Do you want to go now? We could winter on some forgotten numeraries, spend the season fishing and hunting, fly on to the lawless lands in the spring. No one will find us. We could do that, Gerard.
Gerard felt a wave of anger.
And leave Thess?
Alcer hesitated.
No, of course not.
You're disappointed.
The distance between them bloomed again. Gerard paced the courtyard without saying anything.
Dawn. Silvio said to meet back here at dawn. I wonder if Sue will really keep them busy all night or whether they'll be back in a quarter watch.
He tried to think of a convincing story to explain his departure from the group. The idea of trying to successfully lie to Silvio made him nervous all over again.
I could say I figured out the cottage but found the room empty.
It could have happened that way. He wondered whether Silvio's nose would be able to detect the real story on the ground. He had no idea. He felt tired.
There's a ship in a little cove not far from here. I saw it as I was flying. A fast-looking ship with black sails.
Gerard nodded.
The Nightingale. Basil's pirate ship. Silvio doesn't want to go back via the Great Lodge. He's afraid they might have figured out we brought jungle plague to the island. That's probably why the Griffin patrols aren't vigilant. They're probably busy trying to figure out what's happened to all their game animals.
Alcer thought for a moment.
I could take you back to Major. We don't have to sail with that obnoxious wine sack.
Gerard thought about it.
I could fly straight to Major, get Thess and leave.
He couldn't think of where to go, though. Gawain hadn't told him anywhere. Gerard shook his head.
We were supposed to meet back here at dawn. We'll wait for them.
He paced the ruins until red moon started to set behind the trees. In the starlight, the twisted bodies of the fawns gave the place a macabre atmosphere of doom. Still, the hunting party did not return. It grew chilly, and Gerard considered a fire, but he didn't want to attract the attention of any of the island's inhabitants that were not sick. At last, Alcer lay down against a wall, and Gerard curled up in the warm crook of his body. He fell asleep, listening to the chirp of insects and the call of night birds among the trees. Gerard woke in a cold sweat, trembling. He jumped up, disoriented, feeling that he was late for something, much too late. Alcer rose from the ground with a yawn. The bodies in the ruins were beginning to stink.
They didn't come back.
Gerard nodded. He felt more panicky than the situation warranted.
I should wait a little longer. That winged wolf probably just led them up into the mountains, but Silvio's good with directions, and Basil knows something about Major Minor. I should wait. Let's go to the ship,
he said suddenly.
Maybe they went there for some reason.
He couldn't imagine Silvio leaving him, but maybe something unexpected happened. The morning was excessively foggy, for which Gerard was grateful. It would help with any patrols that weren't busy trying to save their game animals. Alcer flew low towards the main path, over the ridge, and down the cliffs to the sea. They were on the outer side of the island, with big waves beating on the rocks below. Gerard strained his eyes in the mist, trying to catch sight of the ship. They flew until they reached a little rocky inlet at the mouth of a small river. Alcer circled.
I don't understand. I'm sure this is where they were. They've gone, Gerard.
Gerard felt the panic rise again.
Gone without me? Without even coming back to the ruins to look for me?
Gerard couldn't imagine Silvio doing such a thing.
Do you want to go back to the ruins? Or we could fly along the coast. I might have the wrong inlet, but I'm pretty sure...
No,
said Gerard, more harshly than he had intended.
We're going back to Major. We'll look for the ship along the way. They can't be long gone.
The flight back to Asia Minor would have been less than a quarter watch if they'd used the most direct route over the island, but Gerard made Alcere follow the ship's likely route. They saw nothing. No ships, no patrols, no other animals in the air, just fog and sea and glimpses of jungle coast. Alcere skirted the tidal flats, rose high now that they were away from the island, and shot towards Port Royal. They saw the Nightingale as they passed over the harbor, a sleek little vessel, perhaps the size of the Water Sprite, gleaming black. Alcere dropped down on deck. Gerard didn't even dismount. He called to a sailor on deck.
Is Admiral Lemire here?
The sailor looked startled. Gerard didn't recognize him.
No, he went up to the palace.
How long ago?
Recently, less than an 8th watch. We just got in. Are you Captain...
But Gerard had already nudged Alcere into the air. They flew up the cliff, over the courtyard gardens of Leopard's winter palace.
There. Land there.
It was as close as he could get to Thessalin's rooms.
I have to check on her first. I'll find Silvio later and apologize for disappearing. Do whatever I need to, but first I have to make sure. She'll be harping,
thought Gerard as he bounded up the stairs.
She probably won't even be in her rooms. She'll be composing. She'll laugh at me.
He stopped at the head of the stairs. The door to Thessalin's suite was standing open, with several sea watch outside. They were perfectly still, not talking, not laughing. Gerard couldn't see their faces. He didn't run. He walked, slower and slower. He wanted to stop everything. Stop time. Stop breathing. Just stop. He reached the door. He wasn't conscious of the Shelts parting for him, although they did. Gerard didn't take in all the details of the room at once. He felt as though his mind were shutting down. Something was stuck in his throat. It was hard to breathe. The window was open, the curtains torn and blowing gently in the sea breeze. The windowsill and surrounding plaster were deeply scratched, as though something large had passed through. One of the wind chimes that Leopard had given Thessalin hung askew. It made a faintly discordant resonance, a soft, bright tinkle. Another of the chimes had broken and was scattered in glittering pieces across the floor. The floor. Something lay in the middle of it. Gerard forced his mind to understand what it was. Thessalin's harp. Broken. Twisted, shattered, its glossy curves like wounded skin around protruding bits of broken bone. The strings like the entrails of some sad and lovely beast.
It's bleeding,
thought Gerard. The harp was lying in a pool of blood, bright droplets everywhere, and in the middle of the floor, angling towards the door on the far side of the room, a perfect, clawed, wyvern footprint. Gerard took several steps into the room. He had to go through that door. He had to. He couldn't. He sank to his knees. He was drowning. Dimly, through his tears, he saw Shelts coming through the door on the far side of the room. Basil's voice.
There you are at last. Well, I did tell you what I'd do to you if you hurt him. I think this qualifies.
Yes,
thought Gerard.
Please end this.
Silvio's voice, an octave too high, shaking, half hysterical.
Gerard, I told you. I warned you, and you just wouldn't listen. You wouldn't listen.
Do it. Put a knife in me. No acts of mercy. No exceptions, Silvio.
Something hit him in the back of the head so hard that he felt like his eyeballs had exploded. The world shrank to a vanishing tunnel of watery light, the sound of wind chimes. Silvio was making a noise. Gerard couldn't tell whether he was laughing or sobbing. That concludes this recording of The Guild of the Cowry Catchers, Book 2, Flames. Book 3 is called Ashes, and if you're listening on audiobooks.com, you can do a search and see if it's up. If I have not posted it, and you really want to know what comes next? Check my website at cowrycatchers.com. I release the completed books on Podiobooks, but I release them an episode at a time weekly on my website. And, folks, if you haven't been over there to check out the artwork, you really should. Also, I'd like to make sure that you know that I have another series in the world of Panamindorah. It's called The Prophet of Panamindorah, and it's geared towards a slightly younger audience, teens and mature children, although a lot of adults have enjoyed it. All 3 books are posted on Podiobooks, or you can get the whole thing in one feed at panamindorah.com. You can also do a search in iTunes for my name, Abigail Hilton, and find all my stuff that way. If you get impatient while waiting for more of Cowry Catchers, you should check it out. Additionally, I do occasional paid side content on my website. For instance, as of this recording in October of 2010, I just did a short story about Silvio as a teenager and his mentor, Malpin. If you're interested, check my website. I will see you in Book 3. This is a standard copyright now. This podcast is provided for your personal enjoyment only. You can download and archive the episodes for your personal use. You may not re-upload, mirror, or publicly redistribute the audio files, nor can you alter, remix, or create derivative works. And I'm back. This is 2025 Abby coming to you with some comments on the episode. So this one was introduced by the Leviathan Chronicles author. This was a very big full cast production in the podcasting fiction space at the time that I released Cowry Catchers. And it looks like you can still go to leviathanchronicles.com and listen to the whole thing. The author, Christoph Laputka, was a very charismatic person, very friendly guy. He also had some resources to expend on this story. My impression was that this was someone who had been very successful in business, and this was kind of his pet creative project, so he could afford to lavish some resources on production and not worry too much about whether it was going to make a profit. And it was a beautiful production. And I'm looking at the website now. It's a beautiful website. It still looks very, very nice in its home online. So yeah, if you are curious about that, you can still easily check it out. So, the story itself here. This is dark. I have this theory that the younger an author is, the darker they're willing to go. I have heard it said before that violence is the sex of children's books, and obviously this is not a children's book, but I was 30 years old when I wrote it, and this is darker than I would probably be willing to go today. There is material in Hunter's Unlucky, the first book in that series, that I wrote when I was a teenager that has been reworked extensively since then, but still the basic storyline is the same. That I've said before, I probably would not go that dark were I to write a similar story today. Nowhere is it more clear that this is a story about the villains. I do like the symmetry of the fact that the actions of our protagonists lead to the deaths of a lot of innocent people. And we don't know those people. The audience doesn't know those people. So although we're horrified, we're not personally hit, right? But this series of events, these actions they've taken, this road that they're on, inevitably comes around to taking the life of an innocent person that they do know and care about, and that the audience does know and cares about. So I like the symmetry between here's the crime and inevitably there are consequences. Not symmetrical consequences, because life is not symmetrical, But anyway, I don't want to say too much about this because this particular moment in the story has knock-on effects throughout the entire saga, and things from this part of the story will come back again and again, and some things that you were probably not expecting will come back again and again, so I'm not going to say too much about that. I did think it was interesting that there were threads I pulled on from this part of the story for several short stories. The story about how Silvio and Basil met in the midst of an outbreak of plague, that was kind of hinted at in this episode, and then I took that and developed it into a short story later. And then Gawain's story, I do this epistolary story of when he first comes to Major Minor as a teenager, and he learns all kinds of stuff about the island and about his mother's family. If you're hearing galloping in the background, that is the cats playing tag. He learns a lot of things about the island, and the poison sundews that I mentioned in this episode play an important role in his epistolary story about coming to the island. I like that story a lot. You will eventually hear it as part of the saga. I chose originally not to run the outtakes for Book 2 at the end of the last episode. Instead, I put them in a separate episode. That was also the right call. Listening back through it, I'm like, oh yeah, no, we don't need something funny tacked on to the end of this. That would be in very poor taste. That would be very tone deaf. Also, it's kind of a long episode. So anyway, the next episode after this, I will run the episode I did with the outtakes, and I think also some feedback stuff, and I have completely forgotten what's in there, so I will find out when I listen to the next one. But anyway, you will get the outtakes from Book 2, just not in this episode. Alright, hang in there. It's not all this dark. I will talk to you later. This is Abigail Hilton, and you have been listening to the Pirates of Wefravain saga. Join me on Patreon for early episodes, long-form interviews, forum access, personal updates, and lots of artwork, including maps and species charts. That's patreon.com/Abigail Hilton. If you want the whole story now with no interruptions and some remastering of the early books for sound quality, you can find the entire series at shop.abigailhilton.com, along with all my other novels. The audiobooks are delivered by BookFunnel. Background music was Hidden Sky by Jamie Sieber, licensed from Magnatune.net circa 2014. The Guild of the Cowry Catchers podcast is an audio adaptation of the Pirates of Wefravain saga, written and produced by Abigail Hilton. Original production copyright 2010. All rights are reserved to the author.